Which gets to my next question. And Kate, we'll start with you on this one. What do you think are some of those day-to-day responsibilities that finance and data professionals have that generative AI could be a great benefit for them?
Yeah, I think it varies on a case by case basis. But I think if we were to start thinking about the process sort of that everyone can take today to get started in terms of addressing their responsibilities and what they have to, what they have to do so they can use AI in order to help their repetitive tasks or boring tasks, help that sort of go a little bit smoother. I think, generally starting with number one, identifying your pain points that align with what Gen AI is good for. I've seen lots of memes out there and people poking fun at Chad GPT because it's getting some questions wrong. Like, use it for what it's supposed to be used for, right? So identify your pain points that are good for Gen AI. I think then figuring out sort of what are the tools that are available, making sure you're staying on top of, Chad GPT-4 is out now, so making sure you can use the latest and greatest tools out there, DALL-E, Midjourney, if you're on the creative side. You mentioned, Chris, thinking in prompts, getting comfortable with prompting tools that are in line with what you're looking for. The only way I think that you can get good at this is get out there and try it and see what's working. If one prompt is working better than another, use that prompt, iterate on that prompt. You can talk to your friends who are using Gen AI for their business. And then sort of starting small, making sure you're not like, okay, my job here is done, I'm going to automate everything I do. No, start with the things you maybe don't like doing. Try to see if there's a way you can automate or use Gen AI to help that process. And then lastly, staying on top of trends, because I feel like it's every day I get out there and I online, or yesterday I was at the AI summit in New York City, and there's just so many new things that I've never even heard of. I'm like, oh man, I could probably watch Gen AI news all day and still somehow be behind because there's so many new things coming out every single day.
Awesome. Thank you for those insights. Praz, what are your thoughts, man? How's this gonna help level finance and data professionals up from their day-to-day responsibilities?
Yeah, absolutely. So, I mean, Chris, you know my heart is with FP&A. And what is FP&A? Financial planning. And the part we always forget, analysis. And why do we forget analysis? Because our friends and us in FP&A, we spend way too much time on the planning piece. The tasks that we just keep repeating over and over again. I talked earlier about scheduled tasks that we do and really forgetting about the analysis. And I think what this will do is really change the profession so that, I think, there's been blogs and things written about in the past about how, finance needs to spend more time on analysis. I think this allows you to spend a lot more time on the analysis piece because there's various things you can do to automate different processes using generative AI and AI that make your life a lot easier. So you're doing a lot more value added activities. Now, I think the first step in this is pick use cases, and it's not big bang. I think it's really about finding small use cases. Look at, as I said before, once you've gone through the step of transformation of cleansing a data or a set of data that you can trust, putting an AI model on top of that, which is very easy these days. A lot of these things are self-service. And once you put that in, start asking questions of it, and you really use it to drive, better decisions. One simple one, for example, anomaly detection, right? Just allow it to, detect variances within the constraints that you put in so that, these variances are being done, analysis are being done in real time in an automated manner. So it's notifying you in terms of when you have a spike in a volume variance or rate variance or some sort of mixed capacity or something. And once you have these small wins, start building upon that and use that to drive the change within your organization.
Nice, 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 nice. Those use cases, Praz, that's really, really important. The use cases. Then, how's this going to help, man, finance and data professionals from their day-to-day responsibilities?
Well, I think, when you talk about day to day, you want to get into tactics, you want to get into the ground level.
Exactly.
But I think pull back for a second and ask yourself, what does technology already do well? And if it's already being served well by an existing technology, don't feel like that's where you should start. That just because it's obvious, it's an opportunity that's right in front of you, that doesn't mean that's the right place to start with generative models or with any sort of data. Look at places that you've never been able to support using any existing technology, because those are the highest returning use cases. Those are the highest returning workflows. It's those new types of value creation. And what organizations like finance have the opportunity to do is show the rest of the business. You were talking about how other organizations usually lead the way, but finance is one of the most data driven. Finance is an organization that understands models and modeling. You understand a lot of what the data team is trying to get the rest of the business to see the value of. So finance can really lead the way by not just handling the obvious use cases, but revealing how models, how data, how that analysis can support really delivering value to workflows that technology could not support in the past, and delivering value in new ways. Always keep in mind that data is your competitive advantage. So step one in anything when it comes to implementing generative AI is staying close to what you have access to data about. Those workflows are going to be the easiest ones to bring any solution, whether that's data analytics, machine learning, generative AI. Look for the areas where you have the best quality data. And when I say best quality, we're talking about data with business or customer context. It could even be market context. That means that there's some sort of metadata around what is the thing that generated that data. It makes it easier for models to learn from that type of data. And so you're hearing, sort of to Praz's point, that this is not a big bang. This is an incremental transformation. So think small, start with small parts of the workflow that you've never been able to support before, and then start expanding out. And don't start with the most complex approach first. Start with sometimes bringing in third-party software, sometimes leveraging third-party or open source models. And as you build up the capabilities, as you build up sort of those muscles with data analytics and machine learning, then when it makes sense, when there's an ROI calculation there, then move on to more complex approaches. So think about what you can do small, quick, deliver value quarter to quarter. That's really what to focus on, because we've talked about a lot of great use cases, but we also need to give really everyone in the business the tools that they need and the frameworks they need to find these use cases and to discover these high value opportunities.
Nice, Vin. I love it. And I mean, Kate, you talked about trends, right? Praz, you mentioned that we got to put the A in the analysis back in there. Vin, I love your point that data is a competitive advantage, right? Like those are all like really crystal clear use cases to help finance professionals. I think the only thing I would add is, Vin, it kind of highlights what you said, right? It's a crawl, walk, run approach, right? So many times, right? Like, I work with CFOs, and I was sitting with a CFO group about 2 months ago, and we were in a room. It was after happy hour, and they really enjoyed my presentation and how I was talking about GPT-4 and a lot of the tools and how they can be applied. And we actually got to get into some details. And they were all at this table working on their computers, and they were sitting there doing stuff. And they were like, "Hey, man, we really loved your session. Would you be able to sit down with us and just kind of work through some stuff? Like we're not even at that phase where we're like crawling yet. We're still in like diapers, like not even at that point." And I said, "Okay, you want to have a framework to help guide you." I was like, I'll sit with you right now, and I'll give you a 30-day plan that you can use 15 minutes a day, and it'd be guided with an exercise, a use case, and application, and you'll have a 30-day plan. Would that be advantageous for you? They'd be like, "Oh my God, like I would take that and be able to use it." And all I went into it, I was like, "Hey, you are a CFO. You're trying to learn more about GPT-4 and how to leverage. Write me a 30-day, 15-minute plan that has a description, a use case, an application that I can use every day. Make it easy for a beginner person to understand, and make this easy that I could export it to Excel," right? I literally typed that in there. We customized it a little bit, and then I copied it. I copied it in an Excel document. I was like, "Hey, get everybody's email and send that off." And they were sitting there and they were just like, "How'd you do that?" I said, "The first thing you got to think about when you're leveraging these tools is you got to think in that, like, ask it what you want. Don't just ask it, give me a 30-day plan. Be as prescriptive, and like the way that you model, the way that we do a financial model, the same rigor that finance people take when we're listening to the business talk about revenue, talk about expenses, talk about cash and we're able to translate that to a model. Okay, I know if you're talking about revenue and you're talking about something closing in Q2 based on our revenue recognition, we're going to, we can think in that place. We got to take that same quantifiable mindset and linear processing that we do from a calculation perspective and start thinking about that from a qualitative perspective, right? So it's challenging us to still take core frameworks, methodologies, and mindsets that we have, but leveraging it from a qualitative, from a language perspective. That's a superpower, right? So to all those finance, FP&A, accounting, and data professionals, literally use that prompt. And now you got a 30-day plan that can get you maybe to crawl, right? I think another great use case is definitely in tactical operations. So not throwing shade at my accounting partners, but this is poised for generative AI, right? Like when you think about all the policies and procedures that go into just a simple area like accounts payable, right? How you pay bills, how you process bills, how do you communicate with customers, how do you communicate to get paid? All this information, there's a lot of people that are just focused on that level of work, right? When you can say, all right, how can I write me a AP policy because I'm having cash burn issues, and write me an email communication with cadences that if they're 5 days late, I need to send this. If they're 10 days late, I need to do this. So in the tactical operations side for finance organizations, it is a poised ground frame. It's a blue ocean to go find, to what Praz mentioned, some of those use cases, those quick wins, that like Vin that you said as well too, those quick wins to build that momentum, get that train off the track.